Hey everyone, how's it going? Elliot here again. Today's video we are going to be doing something quite important, I think, for the Game Boy community. We are going to be comparing three different Game Boy colors here. A original unmodded Game Boy Color, the GameBoy Color, and the $235 AGS 101 Game Boy Color Lite. So the first thing we're going to look at is the difference between the Game Boy Color, the GameBoy Color, and the original unmodded one. The first thing we should talk about is price. You can pick up an original unmodded Game Boy Color boxed for probably around 25 to 30 pounds, and that is the exact same price as the GameBoy Color here. So if you want it, you can either get the original, nice boxed original Game Boy Color in probably like an 7 out of 10 condition for about £30, and then this GameBoy Color costs about the same, which is I think it's just around the $35 mark. So here we go, we've got some batteries in. I have actually got 3 copies of Zelda DX, although one of them is aftermarket, but that should be okay. Whenever companies make these things, they take the screens from already existing devices. It just means that they don't have to produce a new screen. They can just buy them in bulk if they're like old stock from potentially like old camcorders and stuff. So this screen is not the same aspect resolution as this screen here, which is a bit disappointing, but that was the kind of biggest flaw with this thing. But before we turn them on, let's talk about quality. Obviously, the Game Boy, the original one over here, is just superior in quality in every single way. The plastic feels a lot better, and the games go in easier. The buttons press slightly nicer, and yeah, I mean it just feels not nicer. The only thing I prefer is the GameBoy Color start and select buttons, because these ones are really small, but it's very rare that you ever use them. So I'd say the winner here is definitely the Game Boy Color. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn these devices on. We're not going to take into consideration the fact that this has some built-in games into it, because those games aren't Game Boy Color games. They are DMG, Game Boy Pocket kind of games. So, okay, so the first thing you can definitely notice is at least you can see this screen. Unfortunately, this one here is very dim and doesn't have a backlight. If I kind of turn on this big bright light here and angle it in the right way, you can see the screen very clearly. However, you're not always going to have access to the big lights like that, and if you want to play it in the dark, it's essentially a complete write-off. So yeah, so I think the difficulty with talking about the GameBoy Color is it's good for obvious reasons. It plays in the dark. You can definitely use it in more scenarios than the original. But you get a tiny little bit of screen tearing, but not a lot. But obviously the aspect ratio is the biggest letdown, and also the quality of the screen. The Game Boy Color, the official one, the quality of the screen is one of the best, highest quality Game Boys that were made right up until the Game Boy Advance. And here is the Game Boy Color versus the Game Boy Color Lite. You can obviously see that it looks absolutely incredible. It looks very much like the original one. That is, of course, because it is using the original components inside, and it's just using a special ribbon cable to convert the output of the Game Boy Color to the input of the Game Boy Advance SP AGS 101 screen. So it basically has all the same data going out to it. So that means that the screen is going to be displaying exactly the same stuff, but it's just a little bit of a shame that this is an aftermarket shell. That kind of brings this down a little bit. But the guy who makes this, I'll leave his links in the description below. It's a very bespoke service, and if you messaged him asking him to use an official one, or even the one from like your childhood or something, it's definitely something he could probably do. But yeah, you can see here, looks absolutely incredible. There's no screen tearing at all. If I just go ahead and zoom the camera in a little bit, you can see that there. It's just one-on-one, but except with a backlit screen. Absolutely gorgeous. Let's compare the GameBoy Color then and the Game Boy Color Lite. You might have seen there as well actually that the text is a little bit more difficult to read on the GameBoy Color. But yeah, I mean it's definitely not bad for £35. You can't really complain because $35. Sorry, you can't really complain because if you want to get well, we've actually just frozen on the GameBoy Color, so there we go. That's an indication of its quality. If the GameBoy Color had a 1:1 aspect ratio, it would be just incredible, even with the cheap quality plastic and potentially the odd crash. Just for $35 to be able to have a backlit screen is very, very hard to beat. You might be able to find an AGS 101 Game Boy Advance SP if you're lucky for that price. But it's definitely not the common going rate. And the Game Boy Color is absolutely fantastic when you're out in the sun, but as soon as you get inside your bedroom, it's a little bit more difficult to see everything. So it's a little bit of a shame, but still works perfectly. Most of you probably have it already, so in order to play on that, you wouldn't have to spend any more money. Hopefully this has answered all your questions. If you do have any more questions, please leave them in the comment section below. Be sure to check out this video and this video. I'll leave them in the description below. I'll also leave the link to purchase one of these if you would like to. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.